Welcome to Luxe Visionaries, the talk show where the most influential minds in ultra high-end living share what really drives their success.
Did you know that by 2030, around $31 trillion will be inherited by younger generations of ultra high net worth individuals? And did you know that this is the biggest wealth transfer in human history? Well, this clearly has huge implications for the luxury industry, but what we're seeing is that the market is a bit stalling. And that's why we decided to invite as our first guest of Luxe Visionaries, Moira. She will give us the behind the scenes of the wealth and the people behind this transfer. New data, new preferences, new needs, everything that we need to know to build the successful strategies that can cater to the needs of these new ultra high net worth individuals. My name is Rebecca Gabbi, and I am Vice President at Klaus and Rebecca, and I will be your moderator today. Let me introduce you to my co-host, Professor Dr. Klaus. He's co-founder of Luxe and Rebecca and awarded luxury CX strategist. So let's jump in the episode. Professor, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are around the globe. We are delighted to have you for our inaugural season and the inaugural show of Luxe Visionaries. Visionary, yes, they are indeed. And I hope we have a great time together. And I hope you, as our audience, enjoy. Subscribe and like, as I say, and join us for the next session. Today, we have a very special guest, which is Miss Moira Boyle, Head of Luxury Sales for a company that you might not be familiar with, but at the end of the show, you certainly will be familiar with. Ms. Boyle will share with us great insights about not only what makes ultra-high net worth individuals tick, but also what's important for luxury companies and what the future of luxury holds, in particular, the rise of the female power and the female client in terms of luxury. So, Ms. Boyle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. And again, it's a pleasure to be here and to be on your inaugural show. So I work with a company called WealthX Altrata, and I'm head of global luxury sales here. So that's quite a grand title, but what it means is I have the privilege and the opportunity to talk to luxury brands around the world, as small as a jeweler in New Jersey to the global conglomerates who are all out there looking to connect, create new sales, and really to be an active part of the luxury community. Because it is a different world. It's very different than retail or premium or all the other sort of niche marketing sectors that you can think of. Luxury holds a very special niche and really does kind of demand a different approach. So I have this opportunity literally to talk to brands in so many different countries that it's really quite extraordinary.
That sounds quite exciting. But you mentioned now once or twice that luxury is different. And sometimes I heard that from my colleagues before about the luxury customer experience. And I said, no, it's not that different. You know, human beings all work on the same values. We just buy different things. So what did you reply to that?
That would be a fun discussion, and we will probably need a week to really parse it and go into that. And it depends upon your definition of luxury. So that's there's many definitions out there. My perspective is that luxury is craftsmanship, heritage, uniqueness, special. Sort of irrespective of a trend, there is a product that is just unique, that has a smaller volume of availability capacity that people are interested in. And it is typically more expensive, but it is very different in brands. Really, I get into a lot of these conversations. Do you want to be luxury and serve a smaller audience, or do you want to be more premium with a broader audience? and it's difficult to move back and forth. You sort of have to make a decision on where you want to be. What works in premium marketing will not work in luxury marketing. So again, that would be a wonderful conversation to really dig into what those differences look like.
Can you give us examples for that, Ms. Boyle?
Sure. So pure luxury, easy examples would be Hermes and Rolex, where they have a very specific bespoke product that no one else can give them. And not just the product. There's lots of watches in the world, and there's lots of bags in the world, but the blending of that really curated craftsmanship, uniqueness, heritage, story creates a product that no one else can have. Paris, there will never be another Paris. It is unique. So the uniqueness of luxury can be extraordinary. A premium situation would be where maybe you were luxury goes through ups and downs financially and demand and obviously sales, and you have to broaden your market or lower your price to generate more sales. That's really not a luxury strategy. A luxury strategy is to hold your ground, hold your price, and be true to that craftsmanship and heritage, because the luxury buyer will be there for you. If you needed to expand your market and go into a sales or discounting strategy or create more entry-level products, that's going to change that luxury status that you have. So perhaps you do both. Perhaps you come up with a high-low strategy. An example there might be Mercedes. So Mercedes has the Maybach, which is the pure luxury component of their distribution, and the rest of Mercedes is ultra premium or premium. But they've made a very clear decision to keep luxury separate and very distinct in their positioning.
Regarding that, you mentioned that you're the global head of luxury sales, correct?
Yes.
This is your correct title, Ms. Boyle.
Correct.
Now, when brands contact you, what kind of experience or what kind of services are they actually looking for those in our audience who are not familiar with your offerings? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, and thank you for giving me the chance to explain a little bit about what we do. It's really quite extraordinary and very unique. We're the only company in the world that invests in the granular research on the ultra wealthy. So we have dossiers and very rich information about these ultra wealthy people. And it's used, again, to enhance what they're already doing. Most luxury brands know what they're doing. They have a wonderful product. When there's competition, when there's changes, economic uncertainty, regional wars, U.S. elections, pick an obstacle, and we've probably had a pandemic in the last 5 years. They need to make sure that they are staying very on top of who their clients are and what that client base looks like. So while luxury doesn't cater to the whims of an audience, they have to be aware of who that audience is. Very much in today's world, it's about experiences and creating that very bespoke, personalized experience, whether you're shopping for leather goods or whether you're going to looking for a yacht or a jet. So what we do is work very closely with these brands, and we cover every luxury sector literally out there, and helping them understand who they have. And it can be as granular as who are the billionaires in London or who are the billionaires in New York, to a broad approach saying, we know that there's a demand for new electric SUVs across Europe. Where should we prioritize? What should be our approach? our sales strategy for expansion for a particular type of product. And that's what I work with our clients on every day is prioritization and segmentation and opportunity. So, we're not a luxury consulting firm where I can comment on the designer shifts going on in couture. But what we are really good at is understanding the marketplace, looking at that wealthy sector, what the growth looks like, what we know to be their driving passions and interests, what it looks like by age. Age matters so much in luxury and in marketing in general. And that's what I do literally every day, all day long.
Oh, that sounds exciting. So if I understand you correctly, Ms. Boyle, what you're doing is delivering to your clients the insights about demographics or certain behavior or certain pattern you see, economic pattern or whatever it is, or influence of mega trends or whatever you want to call them, to assist them to understand their target segment better.
Correct.
Oh, that sounds exciting indeed. But now tell me, in terms of excitement, how in God's name did you end up doing this?
I know. Sometimes you just can't chart a path. It chooses you. There's always been sort of an interest in European history and luxury and creativity. I had an aunt who was a fabric designer who spent a lot of time in Europe. And that was probably one of the first sparks of interest that I had. A passion for foreign policy, understanding how people relate to each other, how to improve those relations, actually turned into a career in marketing. And in marketing, you're always looking for that specialness, those indicators that are going to lift response and change a trajectory for a brand. And from there, that sort of evolved into the extreme quality in history and craftsmanship in luxury that brought me to this sector, because it is special and you don't want to water it down and become mass marketing. Mass marketing is awesome. And I think every luxury buyer also buys mass market things as well. But the luxury approach is, it defies the laws of regular marketing in a lot of ways. So it gets very, it is different. You can't apply the same marketing principles. And so it is a little bit, more delicate in how you approach this sector. And that's just fun. That's just where it gets really interesting, where you can help brands see success.
I like the combination of delicate and fun at the same time, Probably should introduce that to human relations in general.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I also love the fact that you mentioned that somebody in your family was responsible for triggering the passion in you. And then for a moment, I thought you're going to end up in diplomacy.
I worked at foreign policy institutes along the way, so very much have a foot still in that thought process. And then marketing just happened to be something I was really interested in. And again, driving success, finding the path to what makes people respond. And that's when, the turn happened into marketing. And then joining WealthX and Altrata, I've been sort of in this world about, 13, 14 years. And then just being able to work with some of these brands and companies, I've had the opportunity to drive electric Ferraris around a World War II RAF airbase in London, just things like that. And they're so passionate about that craftsmanship and so proud of it, and helping them find that niche buyer is where it can really be interesting.
Miss Boyle, now you dropped a bombshell for all our male and Ferrari-driven audience. They will know, what, an electric Ferrari? How did you like it?
It was terrific fun. I drove a Ferrari and I drove a, I think it was a Bentley. So this is a company that literally makes smaller, they are street legal electric versions. So Aston Martins, Bentleys, and Ferraris are what they focus on, with in full partnership with Ferrari, Bentley, and Aston Martin. So and their production facilities happen to be up in on an RAF air base. So it was quite fun. I would go back any year when invited again, because quite a unique opportunity.
See, the perks of your job. One thing I would like to ask you, you mentioned luxury and you mentioned marketing. And for me, listening to it, I want to know, what's the chicken, what's the egg? Was it first the love for luxury or the love for marketing that brought you where you are today?
Oh, interesting. I think it was defining luxury as, for me, it was European craftsmanship. So I think and European history. I'm a big history fan. And, looking at some of the iconic brands, they're steeped in history, and that's where they all started, was with a bespoke, very custom product. So that's probably was where the spark started.
Are they still bespoke, unique, tailor-made, or they're more catering now to the masses? What do you think?
Oh, that's depends upon who you ask.
I ask you.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the brands, they're, in order to stay luxury, and I'd be curious on your thoughts on this, you really do have to hold true to those original principles of not really changing for the market, but trying to stay ahead of that market, being creative, innovative, and looking to create an experience or a feeling that buyer hasn't had before or is looking for. And the brands that can do that, and hold true, like I said, the Rolexes and Hermes are just two very easy examples to use, where they don't have to change their model to market to everybody. In fact, they want people to know about them who can't even afford them, because they want that allure, they want that sort of prestige that comes with being a sought after brand as opposed to a household brand.
Yeah, the aspirational value, the Birkenbeck and the whole process, But we also do know that luxury companies, while they love this aspirational thing, they work on a pyramid. So they have aspirational offerings, which are, as you described, heavily tailor-made and very unique, but the profitability of these unique offerings are not very high. Where the money is in terms of small luxury entrance level masstige, this is where most of them make their money, so to say. So we have the Porsche 918s or the Maybachs, as you mentioned, but the money is made with the C-Class, E-Class, and everything that comes with it. So do you believe, based upon you going to be the expert and the brands tell you, do you tell them you need an aspirational offering in order to cater to the other? You need the whole pyramid, or can you not just cater to a segment and see how it goes? What would you recommend?
I think the high-low strategy is probably a very good strategic one, and that's the looking at it from what we do, which is the people, the buyers. So you can't please everybody, but there's been periods, particularly in the last 5 years, using that word aspirational. The entry-level luxury buyers were very, very visible around COVID. There was a lot of entry-level buying going on, coming into the luxury world. the small indulgences to make you feel good when everything was so uncertain. That from a buyer segment, that segment has retreated. The entry level buyer is more pocketbook concerned now. The economic uncertainties, the threat of inflation a year or so ago, again regional issue conflicts, they've literally slowed down on their buying, while that ultra wealthy sector has increased their buying. So the brands, by very nature of economics, are catering very much to those VICs. And what comes with that is what you're talking about. They want very bespoke, they want new, they want very expensive offerings. So the profit margin on those very, very high end products it could be a lot lower, but you have to have that to give the brand the prestige that it has. So whoever's buying, whether it's the Maybach, the Porsche, or the E-Class or S-Class, you have to have that premier offering, because that's what that aspirational or entry level at any level says, wow, I own a Mercedes. So that you're affiliated with the brand at a level A that you can afford, but in your mind, you're now in the family of the Maybach. So it's important to do both, but I think very much that the high-low is the best strategy. And again, marketing in any fashion or sector is all about testing, quietly testing what the market can bear, what your creativity can produce, and really marrying, the two pieces and what the market's looking for. Is it oversaturated with one thought or goal, and is it ripe for something new? So that's where it can be very interesting for a brand to have a clean piece of paper, maybe once a month, and say, what can we do different?
Clean sheet. That makes a lot of sense. Miss Boyle, but it would be an omission sin if I have you and I have your attention and I have your insights that we can share with our audience to not talk about the $1 trillion shift. So we all know by 2030, we have the largest wealth shift in humankind and human history. For example, it's what millennials own today. In 5 years, they own 5 times the wealth. And I know you are very passionate about this, and we do a lot of research regarding not only how it influenced the current, how shall I say, ultra high net worth individuals, but the people who are going to inherit the money. But you have one particular viewpoint on that, which I love, and you also do a lot of work there when I look at your work regarding donation behavior, that you, in terms of philanthropy, you highlighted the influence or the increasing influence of the female ultra high net worth individuals. Could you please, because no one knows about this more than you do probably, can you share some insights and information about this very interesting trend and with us, and how it will change the landscape of luxury as we know it?
It is a very exciting piece of the entire puzzle, that's for sure. So WealthX, as it sounds like you're fully aware, we do a lot of thought leadership publications. So anybody can go to our website and download all these reports for free. And we've done a lot of research on the great wealth transfer, as you were talking about. And yes, I do get excited over the female portion of this. Just because it's great to see that women are coming into their own in terms of a wealth percentage, but what it's going to mean for brands to actually be aware of this. So right now, I think the female wealthy percentage is about 13% of the ultra wealthy. And we would define ultra wealthy as those individuals worth more than $30 million US. So by 2029, I think we expect that portion to grow by 30. And then by another 10 years after that, it's probably going to grow conservatively, probably another 30% on top of that. So this is a huge shift in the buyer, the ultra wealthy buyer that we see coming. So that combined with the overall shift in just pure that number of wealthy individuals growing. I think right now we're at about 486,000 ultra wealthy individuals. And by 2028, 2029, it's going to be 635 to 650,000 individuals. So for brands, we're giving them this huge gift of a lot, what is that, 30% more wealthy buyers that they could be selling to. And that's the big question. That's where that piece of paper comes out and you go, okay, how are we relevant with this group as this shift is occurring? And interestingly, we see that the Gen Z sector is going to be the wealthiest. There's been a lot of talk, as you mentioned, about the millennials. A lot of this wealth is going to be literally transformational to the Gen Z sector as well. And it's a big number. There's lots going on, but you know what brands do, the smart ones do, is they come back and they backpedal and go, okay, how are we relevant to women now? What portion of our consumer base is female? What are their tastes and preferences? How can we make them more loyal? How can we increase that loyalty? How can we be more relevant to them? And then for brands that have a very low saturation with women right now, maybe autos, yachts and planes are traditionally the territory of the male buyer. What can they do to capture some of this future spend of the female ultra wealthy buyer coming into her own? She's going to be a combination of a self-starter, self-made entrepreneur, and someone who's inherited, a significant amount of money. So that combination is, there's always going to be self-reward. Yes, philanthropy is going to do so well with this because women are known to be, that's their number one passion. With men, it tends to be sports. So the charities around the world are very much gearing up for this. But on top of that, all these brands and luxury companies have an amazing opportunity to create connectivity with this new buyer who, whether she's she works in finance or tech, which are the two dominant industries that we see, or whether she's inheriting it, someone who's earning this herself is a very proud self-purchaser, and they will make sure that they've got the top of the line, whatever they're interested in that year, whether it's jewelry or maybe it's auto. There's going to be opportunity, and the wealth tiers, right now, like I think any sector, the majority of women, ultra wealthy women, are 50 to 70. There's a smaller portion who are 40 that they want to make sure that they start to stay in touch with, because that bell curve is about to change even more. So it's quite an exciting time to be looking at marketing and you looking from this perspective to see what that opportunity is.
That's quite interesting. Now, my follow-up question, and probably of the audience, will be, okay, more female ultra-high net worth and high net worth individuals. How do we cater to them, Ms. Boyle? Now things are changing. What is changing? We conducted research by looking at what this new generation is looking for in value. But what, according to you, Ms. Boyle, shall they be looking for in order to get the new ultra high net worth individual or high net worth individual female buyer buying more and more often from them versus the competition?
And it's going to be different for every brand. Jewelry hasn't suffered at all with all of this volatility that's been going on. that's actually one of the few sectors that has held strong over the last few years. And even this year in 2025, I think 2024 sales were quite strong. But the competition is enormous because every fashion house has now started their own luxury, high luxury jewelry line as well. So the smart brands will, again, not get super excited or overwhelmed. They're going to be very thoughtful and deliberate here, and be nimble, because you could have an extraordinary situation where the economies do great, the war ends, and spending increases because there's relief in the economy. And that's going to be more maybe this, just impulse spend or just general spend increases. Right now, people are a little bit more conservative in their thought process, saying, no, luxury is going to be deliberate. The VICs will continue to spend at a very high level. What are we doing right? What is our creativity roadmap look like, that we're capturing what's important and relevant and new, to be innovative, so that new ultra wealthy woman who wants to be associated with a brand and feel elevated because she's buying more luxury goods, that she picks us. So, not every brand's going to be for every woman, but to really shine, and creativity is such a big part of luxury, to make sure that you're really marrying your innovation with what that female sector is going to be intrigued by and willing to invest in, is really quite extraordinary. And it also changes by, luxury product. We know experiences are doing very well, while, shoes are suffering this year in terms of overall sales. Not to say that people aren't going to buy luxury shoes. Each little subsector of luxury has its own opportunities and challenges. So there's no one template. That's where, again, knowing who your customer base is, really creating that ultra personalization. And I think a lot of brands are recognizing that, even on the floor in a boutique, making sure that you've really got that clienteling approach with every single person is actually going to be very important, to make that woman feel very good when she walks in the store, and that she's willing to spend there.
I can see that. For example, at Lexton Lux, we do a lot of research to find out how to communicate to this new generation differently, because they value different things, and also the way they're functioning. For example, for the new generation or for the next generation, there's a much higher sense of authenticity that they are looking for. It almost goes back to the things that you were saying, that we went from all heritage, history, craftsmanship, all the way to other things. And now we're coming back, and the new generation is really looking for these once again. Then there's another trend that we can see, that Values are just like the money inherited from one generation to the other. So the brands already have a good understanding of what the people want. But what we find out, in particular the female audience, is that there's a sense for community. So that they are looking for more, how can we connect to each other? And also clearly the female ultra high net worth and high net worth individual segment is completely different in terms of impact. You have this beautiful paper about philanthropy. And when people ask me, can you summarize it? I always say, okay, we as men, we want to have our name on the wing of a business school. While women want to see how other women or other people get a better lifestyle, get better education, improve their quality of life and everything that's in it. Is it a fair summary?
It is. It's a bit broad. I would give a few more men credit for being more passionate about their causes as well. But yes, it's the individual philanthropy, again, as conservatism and particularly in the U.S. things are changing. The charities really have to be very much engaged and aware of that. I love what you talked about with the community sense, because yes, when you're donating to a charity, just writing the check feels good, but to be thanked or to be an event and there's an appreciation is very impactful and leads to a follow-up donation. There's no question. And brands, though, are doing the same thing. I think it's My Teresa, who literally has trips taking their VICs to the designers and making them feel part of the entire experience. Wineries, are what they're seeing with their high collectors is they don't want to just order the wine. They want to come to the winery and look and be part of the picking, the harvesting process, and literally have the tour and be part of the whole process, because again, it's just then more authentic, to your point, and makes them feel much better about the brand. They're seeing behind the curtain, and they like what they're seeing.
Exactly. I believe there's so many great women out there who make now a change. And when we look at it, I labeled it these communities wolf packs. And somebody asked me, why are they wolf packs? I said, because they are led by the female.
And they protect each other, and they're investing in each other. Yes.
Excellent. And this is exactly one of these things that we can see. And I believe based upon this great women stepping and taking a more dominant role in it and using wealth in a different way. Of course, there are always outliers, but in general, in a different way. Now, from all the data that you have, which part of luxury do you believe will be most penalized by not addressing it? And who will be the beneficiary of by not addressing this shift?
Oh, I hate to call out any or put a black mark on anybody. I think, there's been stories about one sector who was very reactive when they first. That's the thing with luxury. You don't want to be reactive. You want to be thoughtful and deliberate. There was a brand who, when they heard there was a shift happening, and it's a male dominated sector. And when they heard that there was this shift coming, they changed their marketing at a major event to be more female, what they appeared to be more female centric, and it backfired. Because then the men went, oh my gosh, it's a girl brand now. Never mind. And they changed their tune, but it was reactive to a trend that they heard coming. So I think the ones who have to be more, again, careful and deliberate are the ones who have the high low. When you're doing both, you want to make sure that a female ultra wealthy person will see value differently than someone who was looking at prices in a lower strategy. So being again thoughtful and deliberate in those strategies, that's when brands are going to win. But staying with that first definition of luxury being the purest form, hold your ground. Whether your brand is, if it's as luxurious as you believe it is, the women will come to you. You don't necessarily need to chase them. You've been the brand that they've been wanting to buy forever. And now that they have the wealth, they're going to come to you. Luxury brands don't chase people. They let the people come to them, which is just another fascinating anti-law of marketing, that's actually holds true with them.
The pull versus the push motion.
Yes.
But let me tell you, Miss Boyle, I believe you also could have a great career in diplomacy. Based upon your answers. No.
Next time I'll be a diplomat. Yes.
Next time. I'm sure you are very diplomatic because I love the way you phrase everything. It's very, how shall I say, you're not offending anybody, but you put your twist on something. So it's pretty much not in your face, but clearly saying you better get your act together, if I may say that.
They all have the opportunity. Everyone has the same opportunity right now to take. It's an interesting time because this year growth is slow. Which is depending upon what sector you're in, but you have this shiny future coming at you, and how are you going to manage that and dominate it is every brand's opportunity right now.
Miss Boyle, you have quite some responsibility too. When clients approach you and pretty much tell you, where do we go from here? Now, you as a visionary, and I call you visionary, take it or leave it. As a visionary, if you would now step on the other side of the table and you would be the CEO of a luxury brand and you had all the resources and capabilities in the world, how would you run the show, given that you can already see what will happen? As you mentioned, the power of the female taking over and everything. What would you do right now, and what would you advise them to do right now in the next 3 to 5 years?
It would be so much fun to be CEO of a luxury company right now. So the several key things, opportunities stand out. There's no question. You have to be about your branding. You have to make sure that your brand stands out in the sea of competition, because the word luxury is widely applied, and you have to make sure that your brand is true to the luxury definition that fits your company. So branding is, there's lots of sneakers, but Nike has a market share because of that branding that they've done. So standing out because you've made sure that you've stood behind your brand and you've defined it very well, very important. Knowing your customer. When there's growth, you don't want to ignore your loyal base. You want to make sure that newer customer is aware of you. You need to be aware of them too. But again, we want them pulled to you, but you need to be ready for them. And I think the way you're going to pull them in is with a lot of experiential activities. Whether you're doing experiences in a boutique, or whether you're on a cruise ship, or you're a winery, or a high jeweler, people crave experiences, and as you said, to be included. They want to be part of that small elite event that's going on. And I think combined with that very much is making sure that the boutique staff is really well educated in how to talk to these individuals. Clienteling, if you can pull people to a clienteling event where they make an appointment, your opportunity of a sale is probably over 90%. But you have to make sure that you've got that reception that they're getting is warm, making them feel special, and being part of that innovative, forward-thinking group of people, or that elite group who are, can afford that really bespoke creativity and craftsmanship and history that you're offering. So I think the branding and the knowing your customer, experiential activities, and making sure that you're getting the right people to those events. I went to an event in New York, and when I walked into the boutique, the manager was there, and I said, "I'm not sure everyone here is beautiful. Like, everyone here is absolutely model beautiful." And he goes, "I know, we used a model list to create the invitation list." I said, "I don't think they can afford you." And he goes, "They can't." So they used the wrong list to curate the events. So knowing who your customers are, making sure that you're getting the right people to the table is absolutely critical. And those experiences are going to drive not only those sales, but those referrals. This ultra wealthy is all about referrals, that sort of quiet expansion that goes on. Every billionaire knows, I think 9 other billionaires, every ultra wealthy individual, I think our statistics show, knows like over 70 other ultra wealthy individuals. So making sure that you're getting the right people at the event so that when they walk around, they go, wow, I'm in a really elite group of people. I'm not the most famous in the room or the most wealthy or whatever. You want to make them feel like they're part of that very elite group. So you have to know your customer base really, really intimately to be able to create that experience. But I think that's the future. And then again, having that staff that is so immersed in your history and can talk about it and be engaging and make that person feel special, I think that's where success is.
Ms. Boyle, I won't take either the credit or the blame if somebody calls you up and you have to leave your company to become CEO of a luxury company based upon your advice. So don't blame me. I also don't get the credit for it.
No. Well, this has been great. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I mean, our audience will love you just as we love you. And thank you so very much being the inaugural guest, sharing all this knowledge, in particular, the importance of experience, something that I preach by definition, and everything that comes with it. And also look out for the great female power that comes not only into power, but will take on more of the power, but think of power in a different way than our male audience and probably your existing clients. So thank you so very much again for being on the show and sharing this great insights with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining this episode. Let's shape the future of luxury together, one visionary story at a time. Follow, subscribe, and stay inspired.